You are moving too fast. And I know you feel it right now. That's how it works. When you've been moving fast so long, that fast starts to feel normal. Still starts to feel strange. Quiet starts to feel like something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. In fact, something is very right about this moment. Because you stopped. Maybe not fully, and maybe there are still 10 things running around the back of your mind. But some part of you pressed pause. Some part of you said enough for a moment. I need something different now. That part of you was not wrong. That part of you was the wisest thing about you today. There's a speed that modern life runs at, and almost all of us are living way beyond it, beyond what our nervous systems were made for, beyond what our hearts were built to carry. We wake up already behind, already thinking about what needs to happen, what didn't happen yesterday, and what might go wrong tomorrow. Before our feet have even touched the floor. And then the day begins. The messages, the demands, the decisions, the performance of being capable and present and fine. Always fine. And then by the time evening comes, something in you is hollow. Not sad, not broken. Just hollow. Like a jar that's been emptied and no one has thought to fill it back up. And you reach for something to fill it. The screen, the food, the drink, the noise, something, anything. Because the hollow feeling is uncomfortable. And we've forgotten that the hollow feeling is not an emergency. It's an invitation. Your soul doesn't speak in headlines. It doesn't send notifications. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't push. It doesn't compete with everything else for your attention. It waits patiently, with a patience that has no bottom to it. And it speaks in the language of feeling and the heaviness that arrives in a life that no longer fits. And the longing you feel when you see someone living closer to what's true for them. And the restlessness, in the sense that something is missing even when nothing obvious is gone. And the quiet voice that says, this isn't it. There's something more honest than this. There's something more like you than this. That is your soul speaking. Not dramatically, not in a thunder, but in whispers. In the gaps between thoughts, when the noise finally drops just low enough to hear something real. There's a cost to not listening, and it doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates, the way sediment builds at the bottom of still water, layer by layer, quiet, invisible, until one day you look down and the water isn't clear anymore. And you can't remember when it changed. This is what happens when we don't slow down. Not a collapse, a slow clouding of joy, of clarity, of the sense that your life belongs to you. You start to feel managed by your own existence, like a passenger in a car you were supposed to be driving. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes to remember what it felt like to steer, to choose, to move through the day from the inside out instead of the outside in. The feeling of agency of living your own life on your own terms. It doesn't disappear. It just gets buried under the speed, under the noise, under everything that demands before you've had a chance to ask. Here's what I want you to hear. The answers are not somewhere else. They're not in the next self-improvement book. They're not in the next conversation. They're not waiting for you to become a better version of yourself before they reveal themselves. They're here, right now, inside of you. Under all the speed, under all the noise, under all the versions of yourself you've been showing the world, there's a version of you that already knows what matters, already knows what needs to be changed, already knows what you've been afraid to say and what you've been afraid to feel. That version of you has not been lost. It's just been hard to hear because the world is so loud. And your own voice, your deep voice, your true voice is quiet. Not weak, quiet. And there is a difference. Quiet things are not weak. Quiet things are often the most powerful things in the world. A seed is quiet. The roots of a tree are quiet. The turning of the earth beneath your feet is quiet. And your soul, your deepest, truest, most honest self is quiet too. It doesn't need to be loud to be real. It just needs you to be still to hear it. I want to clear something up. Slowing down is not giving up. It is not laziness. And it is definitely not falling behind. It is not weakness dressed up as wisdom. Slowing down is one of the most productive things you can do. And not productive in the way the world measures productivity. Not in output, not in results, not in things crossed off a list, but productive in the way that matters most. In clarity, in alignment, and the difference between a life that is busy and a life that is meaningful. Because you can be extraordinarily busy and completely lost. You can fill every hour and still feel empty. You can achieve everything you set out to achieve and arrive at the end of it wondering, what was it for? Slowing down is not stepping away from your life. It is stepping into it more fully, more honestly, more deliberately. It is saying, I want to live this, not just survive it. I want to know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I want to hear my own voice again. I want to ask you to be here for a moment. Not later. Not somewhere in the replay of yesterday or the rehearsal for tomorrow. Here. Notice where you are. The surface beneath you. The temperature of the air. The sound of this voice. And the silence around it. Notice your breath. You don't have to change it. Just notice it. In and out. You've been breathing every single moment of your life, and you have rarely, if ever, noticed it. Now that's not a criticism. It's just an observation about where our intention goes when we're moving fast. Everywhere but here. Everywhere but now. But right now, you are here. And in this moment, right here, right now, nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be different than it is. There's just this breath, this moment, this life, yours. Most people are afraid of stillness. Now, they don't say it that way. They might say they're too busy, or they might say they don't have time, or they can't sit still for too long. But underneath those reasons, there's often something else. And it's usually a fear of what the quiet might show them. Because when you stop, truly stop, things rise to the surface. Feelings you've been outrunning, questions you've been too busy to answer, a longing for something you haven't let yourself fully name. And that can be frightening. I understand that. But I want you to hear this. What rises to the surface in stillness is not your enemy. It is information. It is the most honest information you will ever receive because it comes from you, not from someone else's opinion of you, not from what the world has decided you should feel, from you, from the deepest, quietest, most knowing part of you. And that part of you is not trying to frighten you, it's trying to help you. It's trying to bring you home. Your soul speaks in images sometimes, in memories that surface when you weren't thinking about anything, in a song that finds you and makes you feel something you can't quite name, in the landscape, the water, an open field, the early morning sky that stops you for just a moment and makes you feel that you're part of something that's much larger than your problems. These moments, they're not accidents. They're not random beauty just floating past you. They're points of contact. Moments when the deeper part of you makes brief contact with the surface and says this is the direction. This is what it feels like to be alive in the way you were meant to be alive. Pay attention to these moments, not to analyze them, not to figure out what they mean, but just to be present in them, to let them land, to let them remind you of something you already know, but keep forgetting. That this life is extraordinary, and that you are not ordinary. That there is something in you worth knowing deeply. I want to ask you a question. When did you last feel like yourself? Not the self that shows up for other people. Not the self that manages and performs and holds things together. Your actual self. The one who has opinions that surprise you sometimes. The one who laughs in a way that comes from somewhere deep. The one who cares about things that have nothing to do with productivity. When did you last feel that person? Now, if the answer comes easily, well, hold on to that. Follow it, and let it tell you something. Now, if the answer doesn't come so easily, well, that's information too. That is your life gently asking for your attention. Because you deserve to feel like yourself. And not just on special occasions, not when everything lines up perfectly. In the ordinary days, in the regular hours, in the life you already are living. There is more of you available than the world has been getting. And the way back to that is through quiet. Through the slowness, through the willingness to stop long enough to remember who you are. You know, you don't have to change your life overnight. You don't have to disappear into a forest or spend a week in silence or make a dramatic declaration that everything is going to be different. You can begin much more quietly than that. You can begin with a morning. One morning where you don't reach for your phone in the first 5 minutes. Where you just sit for a moment with the day before it begins. Where you ask yourself, how do I actually feel right now? Not how should I feel? Not how I want to feel. How do I actually feel? That question, asked honestly, answered honestly, changes things. Slowly, quietly. The way small course corrections change the direction of a ship over hundreds of miles. You can begin with a walk that has no destination, with a meal eaten without a screen, with an evening of not filling every space, with choosing, just once, silence over noise, presence over distraction, depth over speed. These are not grand gestures, but they are seeds. And seeds, given the right conditions, become everything. Your life is asking something of you. Not more, not harder, and not better. More present, more honest, more willing to feel what is true and let that guide you rather than what is expected. Your life is asking you to stop performing it and start living it. There's a version of your days that is not driven by fear, not driven by what others need from you, not driven by the pace the world sets and expects you to match it. A version of your days that moves at the pace of what is actually true for you. Slower perhaps, more deliberate, more in touch with the small things that actually makes up life. The light in the afternoon, the sound of someone who loves you, the feeling of doing something with your whole heart in it. That version of your life is not a fantasy, and it's not reserved for other people. It is as close as the next moment that you choose to slow down. Your soul has been very patient with you, remarkably patient. All those years you were too busy to listen, all the seasons you ran past the quiet without stopping. It never stopped speaking. It never gave up on you. It just kept whispering in that ache that wouldn't settle, in the longing that had no name, in the moment at the end of a full day when something still felt missing. That was not emptiness. That was your soul still trying to reach you, still saying, I'm here. I've always been here. When you're ready, I have things to show you. You're ready, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have pressed play. you wouldn't have given yourself this time. Something in you knew it was time to slow down, to listen, and to let the deeper part of you finally be heard. We're near the end now, but before you return to the speed of your day, I want you to take something with you. Not a lesson, not an instruction, just a feeling. The feeling of this, of being still for a moment, of breathing without hurrying, of existing without performing. Carry that with you. Even into the fast parts of your day, even when the noise comes back, even when the demands arrive, even when the pace accelerates and you feel yourself being pulled in back into the current, you can remember this. You can come back to this anytime, in a single breath, in a single moment of choosing presence over speed. Your soul will be there. It is always there. Patient, quiet, waiting. Not with frustration and not with judgment. With love. With the kind of love that has no conditions and no expiration. The love of something that knows you completely and wants only for you to know yourself just as well. Slow down. Not because the world requires it, because you do. Because you are worth it more than the speed you're living at. And the life that is waiting for you, the full one, the honest one, the one that feels like yours, it cannot be found at that pace. It can only be found here, in the quiet, in the slow, in the turning towards yourself with patience and with care. Your soul has been speaking. Now, listen.